Rachel Maclean.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it is a great pleasure to follow the honourable lady from St Helens South and Wiston, and I thought she gave a very good and comprehensive speech. However, I can't say the same about the shadow opposition frontbench spokesman, the honourable gentleman from Denton and Reddish, who gave an impassioned speech which was no doubt great for the Facebook clicks but bore very little reality to the current substance of the debate that we are facing today, when we have a true cross-party challenge that we need to address. And he conveniently chose to ignore some of the critical points about the council funding as it is distributed across our country. Many members on the opposition benches got up and spoke about Birmingham, a city that I know well. It is a great city. I've lived and worked there for many years, and they were decrying the government's seeming neglect of spending in Birmingham. Madam Deputy Speaker, the blame for the problems in Birmingham lie firmly at the Labour administration's door. Shall we just look at the facts? In my constituency in Worcestershire, the core spending power per dwelling is £1,356. In Birmingham, it's £2,022, nearly 50% more. Yes, this does reflect the need, but we have need in my area in Reddish as well. And what is that administration doing with that money, Madam Deputy Speaker? They are squandering it on consultants. They are squandering it on inefficient services where they can't even collect the rubbish on the streets. There is rubbish piling up. They are breaking their own promises to the electorate. They cannot collect the bins. The strikes have cost them £12 million. That amount could have actually funded the council tax rise that they've just inflicted on their residents. However, that's enough about Birmingham and enough about that, because actually I do want to focus on this very important issue where I think there is more consensus than there is political point scoring. There is no doubt that adult social care is an absolutely critical issue. And in my own personal experience as a Member of Parliament, of course, I hear from people who have tragic stories and face very difficult choices. I'm also a daughter of a dementia sufferer who lives on her own in Cumbria, and I've seen firsthand how the challenges of the system are, how difficult they are to navigate, supporting a frail, vulnerable lady in a very isolated rural area. And of course, we all have constituents that suffer from dementia and other conditions. So we do need to grapple with this, and it is, I think it's right to say that the lack of a social care green paper is a missed opportunity. I am delighted to be the co-chair of the APPG for carers, and they are doing some excellent work. And of course, the carers in this are the unsung heroes. They're providing £132 billion of care across the UK. Over the next 10 years, 20 million people will start caring, and we know that unpaid carers are making a huge contribution in so many ways. So I do gently call on the Minister to perhaps address... yes, I'll give way.
The Honourable Lady is quite rightly raising the plight of carers, and that's the subject that's very close to my heart, as it seems to be to hers. Does she really also regret the lack of a national carer strategy from her own government? The last national carer strategy was produced in 2009, and I know there is a campaign among carers to get this government to produce a national carer strategy. We don't have a green paper and we don't have a national carer strategy.
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for the point, and of course we work together on this APPG and we share those concerns. And I was just coming on to ask the Minister and to press him for more update on when we can see this green paper, because while this debate is about local authority funding, of course the role of carers and the joining up of the role of carers in the National Health Service and in the local authority, those services have to work together, and that's a critical part of this whole debate. It makes no sense to... I'm sorry I won't, because I don't have very much time and I do have a lot to get through. This debate about artificially separating these two pots of funding, I think we do have to link them all up together much more holistically. Of course, we have a long-term plan from the NHS, and there are some welcome focuses inside that NHS long-term plan on carers, and perhaps the Honourable Lady will agree that that's a helpful focus there. And I would highlight in there the use of innovative technology, for example, smart home technology that can actually monitor, for example, when a dementia sufferer does simple things like turn on the kettle or switch on a light. And that can be then linked to an app to enable people, like a relative, like myself, for example, to see what their loved one is doing at any given time of the day. And it's great to see that some of the power companies, the utility companies, are developing apps that can work in this space. And you know, I welcome that. And we have to get behind those efforts to join up the care for people. I want to highlight perhaps another aspect in the carer spectrum, which is young carers. They're often completely hidden from view, and yet young carers also do a fantastic job supporting their loved ones, and it often has a knock-on impact on their own schooling and even on their mental health. We know that 40% of young carers do suffer from mental health problems. Perhaps the final point about the carers I wish to mention is the importance of companies and employers having a proper strategy to juggle work and care, because most carers are working or trying to work. Often they have to leave work. So how can we better support carers to actually provide the care? And it's great to see the Minister for Care in her place, and I know she's engaged in detail with these issues. So turning to my constituency and my county council, Worcestershire County Council, of course they face pressures like councils up and down the country, but I do applaud them for the work that they have done in facing and managing these pressures. So I would also just like to put on record the requests that they've made to me via the meetings that I hold with them, that they are calling for the consultation to be brought forward quickly on the fairer funding review, so that they have more certainty to plan ahead. What they really need to know is need to have certainty by October, so they can start to plan ahead for future savings that they need to make. They have had to find savings of 22.9 million altogether. But what's been a very positive development for our area is the working across all the different councils to bring forward the 75% business rate retention pilot, which has meant that there is up to, I think, 4.9, I'll have to check that figure, 4.9 million more to spend on social care, which has relieved the pressures considerably. And given that the County Council spends 41.8% of its net budget on adult social care, and we have a rising population of people demanding social care, this is really important and very welcome, but it has to be a sustainable settlement that the Council can build on and plan for going forward into the future. So the second half of the equation, and again it's a shame that this is sometimes neglected possibly by the opposition members who speak. It was actually the shadow frontbench spokesman who talked about growing the pie. And I think this is absolutely critical. As well as looking at where does the money come from, what we as Conservatives try to do is think about how do we generate more money? How do we generate more pie in our local areas? And for me, at the heart of that is about creating local areas and local town centres that are thriving, where people want to move to, where businesses want to invest in, which in turn generates more revenue, more business rates, and a more positive, virtuous cycle for our local economy. And that is at the heart of our strategy for Redditch, with our Unlock Redditch strategy, where we have had 1 year in office. My Conservative colleagues have had 1 year in Redditch Town Hall. They took control this time last year from 8 years of Labour, where there was no positive vision for the future. They've taken control. They set out how they are going to build more social housing, how we are going to help and empower businesses, how we're going to help and empower our local community to build a thriving town that we can all be proud of and have a positive aspiration for our future. So I'm completely behind that strategy. It is about having a mission and a plan for the future, and that's absolutely what we've got in Redditch. And if I can take this opportunity, if anyone in Redditch is watching, it is absolutely vital that you go out and vote Conservative in the local elections so that we can retain control of our town hall and continue that effective management, even in the face of spending pressures and pressures on budgets. The team have managed that very carefully and are able to deliver services. And we see the same thing with Worcestershire County Council, who, in the face of some difficult decisions, have maintained essential services such as libraries, and I've already touched on the social care issue. So I finished, Madam Deputy Speaker, by saying let's put aside this hysterical political polemicisation that we sometimes see from the opposite benches, and let's focus on working together. We've seen some excellent examples of that, so let us focus on that and grasp this opportunity to really provide a great social care system in our country.